Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. So, I've got a lot of questions from you guys about my French learning journey, about my Canada PR, things like how much have I spent on italki, did I do the Canada PR immigration process on my own, or did I hire a consultant? So, although I try to reply to most of the comments that I get on my YouTube channel, but I've got a lot of questions separately from you guys on Instagram, and I feel that most of those questions would be helpful for other people as well if they get to know their answer from my story's perspective. So I decided to make this video wherein I'm going to answer a lot of questions. All right, so without any delay, let me start with the first question. All right, so the first question is, when did you start learning French? I started learning French in May 2021. Next question, were you a complete beginner when you started learning French? How long you took to learn French and clear the TEF Canada exam? Yes, I was a complete beginner. I have never learned French before in my life. I wanted to clear the exam within 6-7 months because somebody told me that it is possible. But as soon as I started learning the language, I realized that it won't be possible. And I didn't want to rush into things. I really wanted to focus on learning the language first before I could even think about clearing the exam. So I took my first attempt after 8 months, but finally I was able to clear the exam in June 2022. So to be precise, it took me 13 months to clear the exam. Did you have experience in learning any other foreign language before you learned French? No, French was the first foreign language I learned, and apart from French, I speak Hindi because that's my native language, and I speak English. How did you make time to study with a baby, full-time job? How many hours did you study? I think it came from a mother only. So it was very difficult. As I have said in my previous videos, my daughter was 3.5 months old when I started learning, and it was hard. It was very hard, especially because my daughter was not a very good sleeper. She used to get up in like every hour or so. But the biggest thing, I think the biggest reason why I was able to clear the exam was because it wasn't just me who was working on French. There was an entire army behind me who was supporting me, and that was my family. My husband was super supportive. I had my mother here, my sister was here, my father-in-law used to visit us from time to time. So there are a lot of people who supported me in this journey, and they worked as hard as I did. So it's all because of them that I was able to do it. So if you are also in the same situation, I would say you need to take help from your family if possible. If not, then probably think about hiring a maid or arranging daycare for your child, because otherwise I know it is super difficult. Although I had help from my family during the day, at night I remember every night from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. I used to keep my daughter on my lap, and I used to sleep on a chair because that's how she would sleep. Otherwise, because she would just refuse to sleep on the bed, and that's how she used to sleep. So that was my routine, and slowly I got used to it because I had a fire inside me that I want to make this possible. And for me, the driving force was also because I fell in love with the language very soon. So it wasn't just the objective of moving to Canada, but I really wanted to speak in French. So that was also a very good motivation. So yeah, super supportive family. I'm extremely glad and grateful for that. Then the drive that I had inside of me to make this happen. And yeah, thanks to my daughter also, because it's because of her I was on maternity leave. Otherwise, the kind of work I used to do, it was very demanding. I used to work for 12 to 14 hours on an average every day. This is the kind of work I was doing. So if it wasn't for my daughter, it wouldn't have been possible for me to take leave from work, and then it would have been super difficult. Okay, so the next part of the question is, how many hours did I study every day? Initially, I used to study for 3 to 4 hours every day, because more than that, my brain would stop working, because it's a new language that you are learning, and your brain also needs some time to absorb and to get used to it. So 3 to 4 hours initially, but slowly I increased it to 5 to 6 hours and even 7 hours at times. So yeah. Did you use any daily, weekly routine to study? I did. I did make a routine. So for beginners or even at intermediate level, it's difficult to do so many things in a day. So I used to make very small goals that today I want to focus on, say, speaking and listening. And in speaking, say, I want to talk on this particular topic, or I want to first listen to some videos on this particular topic, and then I want to summarize it in speaking. So I used to set small goals. And apart from that, I would do some grammar exercises, for instance, which doesn't take a lot of energy, right? But slowly, I started making more aggressive routine for me, especially a couple of months before the exam. I think at least 5 weeks before the exam, I clearly remember I used to make sure that I focus on all four sections: speaking, reading, listening, and writing. I wasn't just worried about speaking and writing. I was worried about reading and listening also, because it's all four sections that we have to clear, right? If you miss by just one point in one section, it's gone. You have to take the exam all over again. So I used to focus on all four sections. When did you start speaking? I feel scared to speak. Yeah, I know speaking is very difficult. But you know, when you are learning a language, the most important thing that you have to do is try to speak and write as soon as possible. I know people who have spent 3 4 months on grammar and still they are not able to speak properly because they have not put themselves in that uncomfortable situation, right? So for me, when I started taking grammar classes, in just couple of weeks I realized that if I don't speak, I would never be able to get comfortable with the language. So I started taking speaking classes very early on. Initially it was very difficult. We used to have 1 hour session and I would make a lot of mistakes. I would find it really difficult to form even one sentence without making any mistakes. But I think it's all because of that courage that I took to speak as soon as possible, that I was able to gain that confidence in speaking. And same goes for writing also. I was focused on speaking and writing from month one, and that's what helped me. So I would say, don't be scared. Try to find somebody, a speaking partner or a teacher on italki. If you can't afford to take many classes, just take one class per week. Trust me, on italki there are teachers available who are not very expensive. I also created a video on italki to guide you how you can find teachers which are way more affordable. So if you want, I'll pin it somewhere here and you can go and watch that video. But please try to speak to somebody. If you can speak to a French native speaker, that's even better. Just take one class per week. And as a beginner, just follow this practice that I used to do, and it was super helpful. So before every class, I would discuss with my teacher what topic what topic we are going to discuss during the class, right? So as a beginner, you talk about topics like yourself, your work, your family, why you are learning French, why do you want to move to Canada, what are the advantages and disadvantages of living in Canada, for example. So these are the topics that you generally discuss as a beginner. So just have an idea about which topic you are going to discuss with your teacher. Read some articles on that topic in French before the class. Make some notes. If you do that, you would actually have some vocabulary in French in advance, and you would also have some arguments in mind. So when you are in class, it's okay if you make some mistakes, but at least you will have some content to talk about, right? You would not be completely blank. So just do this practice and take one class per week. And I'm sure that within just 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to gain a lot of confidence. But don't be scared and just push yourself as soon as possible, because otherwise, guys, it gets really difficult. How did you improve your writing? For writing, as I said, I was focused on writing and speaking from very early on. So I used to write a lot. I would always have this small diary and pen with me all the time. So whatever new word that I would come across, any new verb, any new sentence or expression, anything, I would write it down. For me, it's very important to write by hand because it helps me to retain more. So that's what I used to do. And apart from that, when I started reading articles or I started speaking on different topics, I used to summarize everything and I used to send it to my teacher for review. And I also used to summarize those things in speaking. So that's how I got used to writing and speaking from very early on. If you could go back and change anything in your French learning journey, what would that be? Very good question. For me, I think it would be I would read more. I was focused too much on listening, writing, and speaking, but I didn't focus a lot on reading. And I was struggling when I started preparing for the exam, because in TEF Canada, reading section is difficult if you're not prepared well. So I would say I would go back and change this thing if I could. Did you reach intermediate plateau? How did you address that? I think everybody reaches intermediate plateau and it happened to me as well. But I didn't really focus too much on that. For me, it was like if I've got comfortable with these 10 topics, I would not focus on them too much. I would now push myself to learn something more. So for example, when you start speaking till intermediate level, you talk on general topics, right? About yourself, about your friends, what do you like to do, what do you like to eat, do you travel, what do you like to do in life, what are your likes and dislikes, all these topics. So when you find yourself getting comfortable with these topics and you feel that you can talk and write on these topics, now it's time for you to push yourself a little bit more and start reading more on upper intermediate level topics. For example, environment, social issues, childhood, parenthood, and all of these topics are part of TEF Canada writing a specific section B, which is a letter. So you would anyway have to start working on these topics. So whenever you feel that you have reached an intermediate plateau, just don't think too much about it and push yourself. So start reading more on variety of topics. And when you read articles, just make sure that you summarize them in 1 or 2 paragraphs, and then also try to summarize it in speaking and get it reviewed by somebody. Make an audio or a video and then review it by your own. I'm sure you would be able to identify many mistakes on your own. You don't necessarily have to get it reviewed by your teacher. So I think just keep working on expanding your vocabulary on variety of topics and just don't think too much about intermediate plateau. Yeah, that's what I did, and this is what worked out well for me. How old were you when you cleared the TEF exam? I was 33 years old. How much time it takes for a complete beginner to learn French and clear the exam? It is a very good question, but I don't know how to answer it because it depends on a lot of factors. For example, how much time do you have? Would you be able to study consistently or not? And things like whether you have the right set of resources, somebody to guide you, all of those factors. I would say if you have been following my videos and you know exactly what I did in first 6 months, 7 months, I've made a lot of videos. And if you stick to that plan, at the same time, if you are able to spend at least 4 to 5 hours or say at least 3 hours per day, then you would be able to do it within a year. But if you have a job or you have kids and you don't have more than say couple of hours to spend on French, then it would take longer. But on an average, people who are able to spend at least 3 hours per day on French and they have a solid study plan. For solid study plan, I can confidently say that if you follow my study plan that I've talked about in many videos, that would be more than enough. So if you are able to do that, then I would say between 12 months to 18 months, you should be able to clear your exam. But I don't know about this 600 hours calculation that people talk about, that if you study for 600 hours, that can take you to intermediate level and then you can clear the exam. I don't know, because I feel that if you are studying but you're not spending time on the right resources, then probably even 600 hours would not be enough. Because see, your end objective is the exam, which is TEF Canada. And if you are not very well versed with grammar rules and you are just reading storybooks or you are watching movies in French, I don't think that would take you to intermediate level in a year. So you really need to make sure that you are following the right resources, right books, right teachers, and you are consistent. If you can do all of that, then 12 to 18 months, you should be able to clear the exam. How much vocabulary is enough to start preparing for TEF? It's a very difficult question. Actually, there is no end to vocabulary. But I would say if you have done Edito A1, A2 and B1 or Saison, for example, another French textbook, then you can start doing exam specific preparation for speaking and writing. So for speaking and writing, there are a lot of topics which are available, which I have also shared in my video. So if you start preparing on those topics, you would anyway expand your vocabulary on more topics and you would be able to prepare well for the exam. What books do you recommend based on your experience? So for grammar, I recommend French Complete Grammar by Annie Hemingway because it is in English and it is easier for anybody to follow. So if you want to work with a teacher, it's good. But if you want to work alone on grammar, you can definitely do that if you just follow this book. Apart from that, you can also follow this YouTube channel, Learn French with Alexa. I think it's amazing. It used to be my go-to resource whenever I had any doubts in grammar. So if you can do these two things together, you can do it alone as well if you are really, driven to work on grammar on your own. I wasn't, so I couldn't. But yeah, these are the best resources for grammar. Then for verbs and for vocabulary on different topics, it's Edito. So just complete Edito A1, A2, B1. Should I use Edito ebook or hard copy? I think it depends on person to person. For me, I like taking notes by hand because it helped me to retain, as I said. If you want, you can use ebooks as well, and you can just take notes on ebook. How long one should invest to do the exam specific preparation? I would say at least couple of months, because once you feel you are ready, you have probably reached intermediate level. Exam specific preparation also takes time because there are specific set of topics that you would come across in writing and speaking, for example. So you should do exam specific writing and speaking at least couple of months before the exam. But same goes for reading and listening also. In reading, you probably would already be reading some articles, but when you read some short and long text that you get in the exam, you would notice that they are actually very different from, the kind of articles that you have been reading. So it's important that you invest enough time on those texts as well. Similarly, for listening, you will take some time to get used to the exam format and the kind of listening topics that we come across. So spend at least couple of months. How can one learn grammar on own without spending any money? Yeah, so I think I've already answered this question. You can use this book, Complete French Grammar by Annie Hemingway. Plus, you can follow this channel, Learn French with Alexa. These are the best resources if you want to learn grammar on your own. What are the best free resources to practice listening? Alright, so for listening, there are few beginner friendly channels like Easy French, but it's not as easy, I think, for beginners. So you have to adjust the speed a bit, but topics are interesting, so you'll find it fun. Second is C-Cube Academy. I think it's really good. I used to watch a lot of videos on C-Cube Academy. Apart from that, it's Coffee Break French. It's also really good for French beginners. Next question. Okay, I'm sure that most of you are looking forward to this question, which is, avez-vous dépensé beaucoup d'argent sur Italki? Oui, j'ai dépensé beaucoup d'argent sur Italki. I've spent a lot of money on Italki because I took classes with French native speakers. So I'm going to give you a breakdown of how much I've spent. So I've talked about my grammar classes with Loridane. So it wasn't just actually grammar classes. For first month, it was only grammar classes. But then I started doing a lot of writing and speaking with her. So with Loridane, she offers these intensive classes wherein you have 5 classes per week. So within a month, you have 20 classes. So with Loridane, I have taken 3 boot camps. And as you may have already checked, her boot camps are way too expensive. I think right now it cost about 700 euros or something. So I have spent about 60,000 in INR on one boot camp. So for 1 month, I've spent about 65,000. I don't remember exactly. And I've taken 3 boot camps with her. So let's say that I've spent about 1.5 lakhs on just the classes that I've taken with Loridane for 3 months. Then apart from that, I was also taking classes with Ferial. And I was taking 2-3 classes with her per week, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, but it wasn't very expensive at that time. So with Ferial, I think I've spent about 50 or 60,000. So in total, you can say that I've spent about 2 lakhs on italki between Loridane and Ferial. You might think that this is a lot of investment, but guys, think about it. If I hadn't spent that money, then my husband would have gone for study visa to Canada, because we were really serious about this thing. So if he had gone for study visa, we would have spent about 30 to 35 lakhs easily. So I would not say that I've spent 2 lakhs. I look at it in a different way, and I feel that rather than spending 2 lakhs, I've saved 28 lakhs, because otherwise we would have spent 30 lakhs, right? So this is how I look at it, because this is an investment for lifetime. And whenever you learn something, I feel it is really important to have a mentor. And at the same time, I feel that if I had not taken those decisions, it would have been very difficult for me to learn French anyway, because I was on mat leave. And after I resumed work, from day one, I started working really hard. I was working on a project on which I was spending like 12 hours to 14 hours every single day. Yeah, this is how my work used to be. So there was no way that I could study at all. So I spent 2 lakhs because I could afford it, because I had the fire inside of me to make this possible, and because I didn't want to spend 30-40 lakhs on a study visa. But I used to work a lot. All the homework that she would give me, I would do something over and above. So I was working really hard. So I feel I've justified each and every penny that I've spent on that course. I would not suggest you to spend on that course if you are a working professional and you don't have a lot of time to study, and B, if you can't afford it. See, because if you only have a couple of hours to study in a day, you would not be able to manage that intensive course, because as the name suggests, it is intensive. In just 1 hour of class, she would teach you so much that you have to, spend like 3-4 hours to absorb everything that you have, that she teaches you. And then apart from that, you have to do some additional homework also. So it is a lot of work, and I don't want you to take too much pressure on your shoulders if you don't have enough time. And second point is, if you don't have enough money, then don't invest on these such courses, and rather use some free resources for grammar that I've suggested, or maybe just take one class per week with some other teacher who can help you with grammar, writing and speaking. And I think that should be more than enough. Yeah, so I would say spend money wisely and don't take too much on your plate. Just think about how much time you have and accordingly take some decisions. And if you have any specific question related to your personal situation, you can mention your question in the comment section below, or you can reach out to me on Instagram separately and I'll try to help you. By the way, I also offer personal consultation now. If you are facing any issues in terms of clearing the exam, or you are in the process of making your study plan but you're not sure whether you are moving in the right direction or not, I can help you out with that. You can reach out to me on Instagram and I can share the details about the consultation with you. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. For TEF preparation, should one use both Prep My Future and TEF Academy? TEF Academy is very expensive. I think Prep My Future is better than TEF Academy any day, because on Prep My Future, you get access for 12 months. So you can go and attempt your mock test as many times as you want. Whereas on TEF Academy, you get access for a month or 2 or 3, but it's way too expensive. On the other hand, Prep My Future is quite reasonable. The second factor is, on Prep My Future, you will get mock tests which are more in line with the type of questions that you get in the exam. So that way also Prep My Future is better. The one advantage that I can think of TEF Academy is that you get access to, say, hundreds of long and short text for the reading part. So for the reading part specifically, TEF Academy is really good. But I feel you can anyway get access to those texts on the Facebook group that I've talked about in many videos. Also, in one of my videos that I created for the reading section, I've also shared some long and short text. So you would anyway have access to all of them. So you don't necessarily have to invest on TEF Academy. But in case you have exhausted all the mock tests on Prep My Future and all the resources on Prep My Future, and you still have, say, a couple of months before you take the exam, then definitely take subscription of TEF Academy on also, but just for a month. This is exactly what I did when I utilized Prep My Future 100% and I didn't have any new mock test to attempt. Then I took the subscription of TEF Academy, but that was only for 1 month. If you want to subscribe to Prep My Future and you want to get some discount, I will share one affiliate link in the description section below and you can use that. I also have an affiliate link for italki in the description section below, which you can use. So if you want, you can go and check them out. Alright, so let's move on to the next question. Have you got your PR? I think, yeah, now most of you know that I've got my PR. What is visa processing time and how long it took you to receive COPR? Visa processing time, it depends on many factors, the time of the year when you are applying and many other factors. So I've already created 2 videos on this topic, which I'm going to link here for your reference. So please go and check it out, and I'm sure you'll find answers for all the questions that you may have on this topic. Did you do your immigration process on your own or through a consultancy? I did it through a consultancy. So before COVID, we hired a consultant because both of us were working and our jobs are very demanding. So we didn't have a lot of time to focus on this thing, and we wanted to make sure that we don't miss out on any updates or anything. But you don't really have to work with a consultancy. The entire process is very easy and you can do it on your own. Yeah, so if you have time and you don't want to invest money, then please do it on your own. It's totally possible. And I am here to help you. Like, I'm not an immigration consultant, but if you have any specific questions, you can always reach out to me. You can mention your question in the comment section below, or you can message me on Instagram. Yeah, so these are the questions that I wanted to answer in this video. If you have more questions, please drop them in the comment section below. And if I feel that there are enough questions for another video, then I will create a part 2 of this Q&A video. If you like this type of video wherein we can have candid conversation, please let me know. and I'll try and make more such videos. Apart from that, guys, I don't say this a lot, but if you really like my content and my videos, please consider subscribing to my channel. Please press that bell icon so that you know when I'm uploading the next video, and support me by just liking my video. It would not make a lot of difference for you, but it would make a lot of difference for me from the YouTube algorithms perspective. So please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you with another video very, very soon. Till then, take care. Goodbye.